Hi, can you
Hello.
hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you. And
Okay,
so,
good.
so you want to be known as Mandrake, or I don't know, or do you want to be known as Michael? By the way, I just want to
Yeah, I want to keep my first name out of it, just M.A. Mandrake.
MA. Okay,
So just
gotcha. Well, you're on. So, welcome to the show.
thanks. How are
And
you?
good. How are you?
Okay,
Um,
thanks.
so could talk a little bit about yourself. Besides you're a Satanist yourself. I've heard about Church of Satan, Peter Gilmore. He must be a very busy guy. Um,
Yes.
so and I'm like one of the only few open-minded people that we got, because most Christians would want to talk to Satanists, and that's sad because we all had to like have a discussion just like this. And fortunately, I'm one of those guys that I wouldn't mind visiting the Church of Satan in the future in person. And I'm very open-minded, so
Well, there's no physical building that is the Church of Satan. The Church of Satan is
oh
the membership as a
oh
whole.
I thought it was like a building. How come there's no building?
It's really no,
That's strange.
because
Not enough money.
there are a few reasons for
I would think that there's
that.
not.
not
Uh,
not that. No.
oh yeah, because maybe
Nope.
society would probably not take it well. That's what I'm thinking.
Eh,
Oh man,
it's
if I had.
mostly because it's an individualist philosophy. and we
Oh,
and we we don't encourage corralling around in one building. We don't have regular meetings or anything. We celebrate individually as individual Satanists.
oh. I think like, if you want to in the future, you should have your own building. Muslims have their mosque, Jews have a synagogue. Everybody should have it. Everybody has their own beliefs, and it's important to respect it. If society is gonna be um, messed up, and that's bad, and we can't have that. And then they talk about all about, oh, we must spread love, etc. But even Jesus hung out with people that are of all walks of life, and you know they is the thing is that they worship him. Someone once told me, when it comes to Jesus, he said, "Do not worship me." But people actually worship him. But he said he didn't go around saying you're this and that. Go around spreading the message of, love your neighbor, etc.
Be
Oh, okay.
okay.
So I was saying before that, everybody has their own beliefs. Christ hung out with anybody, and he's the one that said, "Do not worship me." But people worship him, but they're not spreading the message. The regular Christian will not be talking to you like I am, and not civil. I appreciate you have the courage, and I appreciate you dedicating your time to want to talk to me. At first I thought you were a little skeptical, because you were like, oh, who is this guy? And probably that, since Satanists are probably not accepted in society, unfortunately, because we should all be treated equally. Um, and I don't know why that is so. I'm atheist myself, but if I were a Christian, I believe I'm an open-minded person. I would want to talk to you even if I were a Christian. There are a few Christians out there that are good people. I know personally that, off air, that they're good people. They're fun to get along with. They're fun to be around with. Same with Muslims and Jews and people of other religions too. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I have Christian friends.
Oh, yeah, and at first it's like, someone's told me, when we're talking, we're not fighting. I had Daryl Davis on. I don't know if you've heard of him, and you would never imagine a black man to talk to KK members. That would be like out of this world. But he actually did it. He was on my show like maybe a month or two ago. I forgot
Hmm.
when. But to think of it, how come he could be successful at talking to people? He's talked to Black Panthers. Black Panthers have met with KKK too. So, like, there has to be a way we could all get along with it, you know?
Right, right.
So,
Well,
so
we try to we Satanists pretty much follow a live and let live uh,
ah,
way of dealing with society. So, hopefully we can treat each other with respect. Um, Unfortunately, that doesn't usually uh, wind up that way. But
I think it's the way people are raised like that, By the way, before you get into that, can you tell me about Peter Gilmore? He's the head of the Church of Satan, which I actually thought it was an actual building, just like all the other religions have. I was just surprised that you guys don't have a building. I think you should. There was one that in Harvard where they're trying to have a black mass, but it was canceled. But
right, that was a different. They were not affiliated with the Church of Satan. They, I don't remember all the details of that situation, but it was a.
Were they trying to make you guys look bad exactly? Because like some people try to imitate others, but that doesn't mean you're affiliated to them or like. Because I don't know, we have a First Amendment here, but we can't let somebody have black mass. We criticize people for whether their sexuality, whether gender, whether they like to certain music, whether what political, what side in politics they are in. So I don't know why would not
asking for trouble.
What? The mess at Harvard?
Yeah, it's we have to be realists too. It's not like they're going to welcome a black mass. It's something that you have to wonder what the value of that is anyway. Because if you're doing it as a reenactment of historical ideas, well, that's one thing. If you're doing it as a means of pushing buttons, you have to be willing to just accept that it's going to get people upset.
Because the country was originally founded on by Christians. So I'm sure other countries could probably accept Satanism more welcoming than our country. But the thing is that we are the land of the free. This is the freest country, but it doesn't look like that because they had to shut a black mass down. I don't get.
But at the same time, we are in the United States. We are free to practice our religion, and that is a freedom in and of itself. We don't seek acceptance necessarily. Just pretty much tolerance that we are not persecuted, but we know that it's not something that Satan represents the adversary. He's kind of certainly in the opposer of spiritual religions, but at the same time that's a personal thing. We're not out to destroy other religions. We just are against their ideas. We disagree with them. That's pretty much it. We agree to disagree.
Yeah, and here is where they have the nerve to say, "Oh, we want to spread equality. We want to have rights to believe whatever you want." They this is language, pursuit of knowledge, but they don't respect what you do, so they don't respect you in a way that they acknowledge you as your own beliefs. You're your own person. You respect them, but they should have to respect you in a way because you have to go abide by the rules, but they don't treat you as a human being. That's not right.
That's part of the some of the hypocrisy that we point out as Satanists.
So, is there any follow-ups to this? Because if they could, there's no black mass in Harvard. Can there be one around the country somehow? Maybe in the future, or probably some undisclosed location.
Well, anyone is free to perform their own black mass. It doesn't have to. It shouldn't be necessarily a public event. It's basically one of the most beneficial uses of the black mass would be
what beneficial
people their hypocrisy that exists in society. It's a personal thing. So if we perform a ceremony or a ritual, it's first and foremost for our own personal, essentially self-therapy. So we can get our frustrations out in ritual, and then we can go about our lives and deal with the hypocrisy in society without being as frustrated. So we might we might say if we perform a black mass that ridicules Christianity
Yeah,
and its hypocrisy through
and they
the
say
church, we
spread equality, but and since I'm in a Jesuit university, people are probably gonna be like, "Hey, who's Chris talking to?" So we have that kind of reaction. I understand where you're coming from, because I would get those kinds of reactions as well. And my parents, because back I would be like pressured by my parents when I was younger. I would to be into Catholicism, and they're both Catholic. And then I just didn't want to be a part of it anymore, and they didn't take it too well. But they're your parents; they have to love you no matter what. So that's the thing with parents. I think it's more in the fundamental religious groups: Christian, Muslims, Jews, whichever it may be, not just Christians. This could happen if you're Muslim, Jewish, doesn't matter.
right.
Wait, so how do your parents react? Like, well, I'm sure they were probably furious or something.
Yeah, well, I discovered Satanism at the age of 13, and I was very excited about it. My father was pretty understanding because he knew that I was a good kid and saw that it wasn't about sacrificing or anything like that, and not about crime. In fact, quite the opposite. So,
That would probably be the
yeah,
case, but
he
just
tried
you
to be
don't do that.
supportive.
People around the world just, I guess, would give it a bad name. People do that, but that doesn't mean they're affiliated to you. You don't know them, but they just try to make you look bad. Other people do that around the world. There are a bunch of knuckleheads out there, but I
Sure.
don't believe you would do such a thing.
No, no. That anyone who would engage in criminal activity, especially violent criminal activity, is not a Satanist. It's just a crazy person. Just a a crazy criminal. That's all. That's all it comes down to.
Oh,
We
could be maybe a hoser, or was it? I think that's the word, hoser. Some maybe a wannabe. I would think of it. He wants to be saying this, but he does all kinds of stuff to make it look bad. And the same thing goes for Christians, where they bash gays, it makes Christianity look bad because Christ taught to love one another. Muslims, when it comes to Islam, and they want to spread all about love, but then they want to attack anybody who criticizes Islam. Or Jews, where you cannot even question or ask a question on the Holocaust or any other stuff, and they go berserk.
right.
So
Well, that's the problem with absolute faith. We, as Satanists, we are encouraged to question everything. So that's that's absolutely essential in dealing with any idea, is to not accept it blindly, but to test it for yourself. Think it through carefully and study. So we say Satanism demands study, not worship, and that's a very important concept.
ah. So, you say your dad understand it, but how about your mom? It's probably the mothers, because my mom would. I can't tell which one was worse, my mom or my dad. Your mom
Well,
probably.
I never really spoke to my mom directly about it. She discovered my book, The Satanic Rituals, in a box in my bedroom once, but when I was a kid. But she didn't confront me about it. She's basically been kind of passive about it, and she understands. Basically, she doesn't approve of it, but basically they're
Oh,
both at a point right now where they don't approve of it, but they see that it
they
helps
love you
me,
as their
and
child.
I'm an adult, so
Yeah,
what?
and that was a book by Anton LaVey, the founder of the
Yes,
Church of Satan. It's a shame.
yes.
It's a shame he passed. Yeah, because and now there's Peter Gilmore, and Peter. I'm sure. Do you know? What can you tell me on in Peter's case? 'Cause I
Oh,
barely. I don't know that much about Peter, but I only have heard of him. But you say he was a very busy guy, so I assume he's like a
yes.
good friend.
Uh, yes, I know Peter very well. He's a great guy. He knows so much. Very he's very erudite. He can speak to him about anything. Really, he's got such a wide, vast knowledge of many topics, and he is he's an artist, he's a writer, he's a musician, and of course the high priest of the Church of Satan, and runs the church with his wife, Peggy Nadramia, who is the high priestess of the Church of Satan.
Oh, okay. So, by the way, so what in your perspective is the real meaning of Satanism? I know a few Satanists, and one guy who was in my high school, and I think he was trying to. There's a girl he liked, and he tried to make her Satanist, but I don't know how that worked out. I don't talk to him much because he moved, but
Well, you can't make anyone a Satanist. We say you're born a Satanist.
he's a hell of a guy too. You know, he was a cool guy. You know, never gave me attitude. You know,
That's good.
so what in your perspective is the real meaning of Satanism to you? So it's a matter of
Well,
not blind, not absolute faith, but it's just a study. You said.
Right, to follow up on what you were saying about making someone a Satanist, you can't do that because either it's in your nature or it's not. So a lot of people come to Satanism from other religions or philosophies or just as plain old atheists, but what basically you read the Satanic Bible or other works by LaVey and find that this is a more accurate description of yourself, that you're not just an atheist, but what Peter Gilmore calls an I-theist, someone who calls himself one's own God, which means not that you're, an omnipotent being, but that you are at the center of your own universe, and you are your own highest value. So but it's something that has it has symbolism, it has ritual, and none of it is set in stone. You can apply it in many different ways that wouldn't really seem related at all to another Satanist's application of Satanism, but basically it all comes down to agreeing with the core tenets and applying them in your daily life. But that comes from within. It's not something you can convert to. It's something you agree with that resonates with you when you study it, and then it enhances everything that you naturally are.
And it could also be a way of making your own reality. I don't know if it was.
Well, that's dangerous. No, it's making your own reality is no. We're realists, but you can make your own reality in the ritual chamber. When you're performing a ritual, you can interact with whatever symbols you desire, and in a way, and also we do encourage the development of total environments, that's our term for environments, say at home or even say Disneyland, where they'll have an entire environments that evoke a sense of wonder, of excitement, of recreating a world that doesn't exist for one's own pleasure and stimulation. But
and the subliminal messages in Disney and MTV, that is just bombshell itself. There, if you look carefully, there's all kinds of symbols. When it comes to sex, and a bunch of other people relate that also to Satanism, where they're trying to make everything satanic, and that's how people look at it.
Well, I think those are mostly just mischievous artists, just kind of maybe kind of tired of having everything squeaky clean, and I mean that's something that we talk about, that human nature is going to have its way, whether or not others like it. So if you're trying to make everything too squeaky clean, eventually there's going to be a penis in the mountains.
And nature itself is subliminal. Whether it's pipes is a penis, or a sharpener is a vagina. That's actually subliminal. But there's a bunch of parts in nature where that's just the way nature is. So nature itself, she is kind of perverted herself. So.
Well, I don't think it's perverted. It's just natural.
She's nuts.
And as far as it being subliminal, I'd say yes. There are hidden forces that the unknown. There's the primal nature of of humanity is largely, we're unaware of it. So that's something we try to study as Satanists. That's to us the true occult. Everyone talks about the occult, about these various symbols and entities, but really to us it's about the hidden aspects of psychology and sexuality, anything that we are unaware
that was
of.
considered as a mental illness. If you're probably if you're a cross-dresser or if you were gay, it was considered a disease back then in psychological terms.
Yes.
So
we're still getting past that, I think.
Yeah, and when people think of the occult, I was thinking of Bohemian Grove. That's what I don't know if you heard of it. There was one video from Alex Jones where whether he was given this footage or not, there's a video of like a sacrifice or something he caught on hidden camera or something. He was there. He sneaked in, according to him. I don't know if you heard of it.
Right, yeah. I've heard of it.
So what do you think of that?
Again, Satanists would never sacrifice any living being. It doesn't make sense. Who are you sacrificing it to? We're atheists. And it's criminal besides, And it's wrong to just take another life against its own will, except, say, if you're hunting an animal for food.
Mm-hmm. And I believe this is some footage. I don't know if you can hear it.
I think Henry Kissinger will be here.
And this is the part where he...
And be ye lifted up, ye everlasting spires.
This is a documentary.
For behold,
this is a movie.
Here is Bohemian Shrine, and holy are the pillars of this house.
This is called Bohemian Grove, Alex Jones. So
yeah.
So, what do you
that
think?
Has
what do
nothing
you
to do
think
with Satanism.
You definitely disagree with it, definitely.
I've heard of it. I haven't looked at that stuff for a while, so I can't remember everything about it. But has nothing to do with the Church of Satan or Satanism. It's just if they did anything criminal, then I hope that they are eventually found out. But essentially, if they needed a ritual for whatever purposes to get themselves inspired, that's okay as long as they weren't engaged in any criminal activity. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, and as far as the rituals, all kinds of religions have any crazy rituals, but they cannot have a black mass at Harvard, and we got a bunch of other rituals.
Yeah, but what's the point of a black mass at Harvard?
There's a bunch of more.
What do you think would come of that? How helpful would that be?
With what?
A black mass at Harvard. I mean, I would have to question what their purpose was. We'd rather have no religion in the public sphere and keep it private. Oh. That's how we see it.
Because
have your churches, have your private ceremonies, but there's no real point in having a black mass at Harvard.
So how come you always keep it secret though? I don't think you should. If Satanism is the way to go, in your perspective, you shouldn't be embarrassed. You should just be you. So
it's the way for me to go, but I'm aware that there are a lot of people who have misconceptions, and so I try to help clear them up. But I'm not going to fool myself into thinking that it's going to be always a good thing for people to know that I'm a Satanist. I mean, people piece it together here and there. They say, you seem like you might be a Satanist, but I don't really go outing myself to a bunch of people because it's still something that many people misunderstand, and it could set me back. So, it could put me in danger sometimes.
Oh yeah, because
we're not so much
open-minded
secret
society
as private.
where you can actually, believe whatever you want. You don't condone criminal activity.
No.
But what about a bunch of religions? Like Christianity tends to, they keep saying you're gonna go to hell. You must believe in God, and they blackmail you. And there was one story as far as Mormons I haven't gotten to. Someone told me off air there was a woman that she wanted to get away from Mormonism somewhere in Utah, and when she went to another part, it was Washington State. some kids knocked on her door and they were like hunting her down, and then she decided to go back, and she did that because her husband could have her killed or something like that. So this is effed up because they were hunting her down. He never told me her name, but this was told off air, and definitely the guy is credible. He's not lying to me, But see, that's the problem. I'm sure you wouldn't condone that, but I don't know why are religions like that? I mean, like in general. You gave it a bad name.
Because they tend to go against human nature, and they because they're designed to go against human nature, they have to be actively enforced. Again, like I said, you can't convert someone to Satanism, but you kind of have to convert most people to Christianity because and many other religions because they go against human nature, and so you have them forced at a sword point, whatever throughout history, forced to practice because it's not natural, and that's the problem. That's ultimately what causes all this fanaticism. And on top of that, because they're resisting their natural urges, they have a lot of pent-up energy that manifests in what it does come down to mental illness. That's how I see it, and how many of us see it, I think.
And when it comes to as far as politics, I'm not saying the Israelites run it or Jews run it. That's what people tend to make it look like. It's Zionists, the ones that are running the country. And some people are afraid to say Zionists, afraid they're going to lose their job. There was one quote that Jews do run Hollywood. It was actually said by a Jewish man. Even Marlon Brando, they want to take his star away because he said this: Hollywood is run by Jews. It is owned by Jews, and they should have a greater sensitivity about the issue of people who are suffering because they exploit them. And fearing a public outlash, they don't want to backlash. They don't want to remove a star. Yeah, he died a few years ago, but
yeah. Well, let's see. What did you have a question about that?
I don't know if you've heard of it, but it wasn't necessarily a question. It was something I was thinking of because it's an actor. Some people actually they know the real truth on Hollywood. And someone told me it was like more of an illusion and more to increase some prostitution, but not prostitution, but prostitution using the media, celebrities. It's all like an illusion. Someone told me that's what Hollywood.
Well, Hollywood is all about illusions, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's entertainment. It's something. I mean, for a lot of people, it's life, which is a bad thing, but. I mean, I'm an actor. I enjoy illusion, but then I go back to reality after I'm done playing a role.
And the thing is that Jews, as far as Jewish people, unfortunately, they give them Jews a bad name. There's a bunch of Jews I talked to who do not like Israel at all, who hate Zionism with a passion, rabbis. And these people sell out. As far as the media is, most of it is controlled by Jewish people in a sense where there was one site, smoloco.com, where it was it said your guide to Jewish media or something, and it would say this the main branches of media we have: ABC, New York Times, and all of them are owned by Jewish CEOs.
Well, I don't see
your Jewish guide to the media. This is the site, your Jewish guide to the media, and that. Let's a few examples. NBC, Universal Studios, owned by Jew Brian Roberts. And you can look this up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. All of them are Jewish. And if you look up Brian Roberts, whether they are real Jews, I don't know. I don't know these people personally, but they are either Jewish descent or Jewish themselves. So some people are not necessarily born Jewish. So yeah, Brian L. Roberts, ethnicity Jewish.
Well, there's always been a large Jewish presence in the entertainment industry, and
hey,
one of our former members, Sammy Davis Jr. was, he was a black man who was at one point a member of the Church of Satan, and eventually he converted to Judaism. But it's. I mean, that's just an aside, but I don't. It's not a huge deal as long as they're not preventing others from participating in the industry. I don't see the big deal if they happen to be Jewish.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're Jewish. It's just that they give it a bad name, just like Muslims will give bad name to Muslims if they want to have the mentality like ISIS, which is obviously middle-aged primitive stuff. It's obviously wrong and stupid. Another one, CBS, MTV, Paramount Pictures, Viacom, owned by Maury Rothstein, also known as Summer Redstone. And I've looked at all these people; they are Jewish, ethnicity Jewish or descendant Jewish. And it doesn't matter what country they are from. The problem is that you cannot trust the mainstream media, and they're just meant to dumb you down. I'm sure you know this with the Illuminati and all that.
Well, an Illuminati is that's.
I don't think that's a new world order. I think it's similar in a way. Celebrities.
I'm suspicious of that whole Illuminati idea. It's not. It isn't. Is there conspiracy? I'm sure there must be some conspiracy, but mostly to do with making more money. I don't think it has to do, and of course, keeping themselves in power. But the fact is, any group given the chance, I think will try to keep itself in power or get itself more power. So that's just again human nature. Many people will generally try to band together and become more powerful and have more power over other people. And that's what we have to watch out for, is that becoming an oppressive force. We have to prevent oppression. That's what we're concerned about.
And it sucks that people don't want to talk about it. I had an assignment. I was in absent on the last day of class, unfortunately, but there was a PowerPoint I did on the New World Order. And I put some stuff Illuminati, but my teacher was at first skeptical. She doesn't want to hear it. Basically, like anybody that if it's against what they believe in, because they don't want to be challenged to think, they don't want to think outside the box. That's the problem there. And a bunch of celebrities sacrificed, supposedly Robin Williams, Paul Walker, Joan Rivers. But Illuminati actually means to illuminate, and it was actually founded for good. It was just taken over by bad people. The founding fathers were Freemasons. They were part of it. And they eventually, Washington wrote letters, you could look it up, and warning against it.
Well, I don't know whether the Illuminati exists, but of course the Freemasons exist, and there are always going to be conspiracy theories, but you should always take them with a grain of salt.
Satanists, when it comes to how people how people look at it. Whether it's 666, a bunch of symbols, and you're here, your reaction is like, I don't condone this stuff. It makes us look bad. But that's the thing. When it comes to that's how what Disney does. I don't know why they would do such a thing. Where it doesn't matter if you're Satanist, but you cannot force someone to be someone that whether it's Satanist or Christian, whatever. So I understand if you're against it, but have you ever talked to anybody and be like, I'm a Satanist, and when you guys make movies, you're making us look bad. So, did you ever talk some sense into these people? Because they're giving Satanism a bad name, and obviously that's to you that you take
people are going to associate whatever they want to with Satanism. We try to clean up the mess after they do so, but it's always going to happen. It's not, and I don't think that. Weird symbols in Disney movies give Satanism a bad name. It's more that it can damage the Disney brand if they're discovered. That's about it. But again, I think that's probably mostly just
maybe they do that deliberately.
Artists playing around.
It doesn't matter to them because a huge company. It doesn't matter if they would risk damaging their name. You should not sexualize movies that are for kids. That's
I don't think so.
No. But recently people are trying to do that. They're trying to teach kids how to cross dress, like very little kids, and or how to have sex. This is stuff that they're teaching in schools because that's how corrupt our system has gotten. I talked to a mother.
It's important.
What?
I was going to say, I think it's important for it has to be handled sensitively, of course, but
Yeah, sure. You have to
cross-dressing exists and
you have to
sex
learn sex
exists.
ed at a
Sex is how
young
the kids
age, but it has
exist.
to be in a responsible way. It has to be
Hmm.
an educational way. It has to be appropriate, and you cannot
Yeah,
BS the kids. It could also be where you shouldn't force religion on your children,
I
but
agree.
yeah, but people are still gonna baptize their children, etc. It's just that it's just that they have to let their children decide for themselves. I was talking to a mother yesterday, and I don't know if you heard of you ever heard of the Princess Boy? This was in national news. I was talking to her, and she supports her son. She loves her son, and she loves him no matter what, and she wouldn't want anything bad to happen to him. I don't know if you heard
Hmm.
of that story.
I don't think I did hear that. No.
Yeah, the Princess Boy Dyson, and I was talking to her. She was on yesterday, and he loves to dress like a girl, which I could not even think of doing that at his age because then my parents will go ape, and then that's where you get all these kind of fights with your parents. I'm sure I had something much worse because my parents absolutely wouldn't like anything besides Christianity or Catholicism. They
Right.
would
Well,
look at me as if I have 10 heads or if I'm a rapist. That's how they would look at me if they would hear me talking to a Satanist, which is
right.
it's a disgrace. It's a scumbag because you shouldn't have anybody tell you who to talk to, who you could talk to, who you cannot talk to, and you shouldn't have to deal with people that are like, oh, I'm not gonna be your friend if you hang out with that weird kid who likes Satan so much. Or it could be also a soulmate where I don't think we should see each other anymore. You get this kind of reaction. I've talked to people like that. It's so awkward and so effed up, and these people have the nerve to say, "Oh, Christ loves everybody. God loves all of us. You don't.
Right.
I'm sure
Right.
you get that kind of reaction. I can't imagine like just telling my parents if I would want to be Satanist, how they would react. Because my parents, I'm sure, would not react as because I'm not Satanist, but they don't want to talk about it. But your parents, to accept you finally, that's obviously a good thing. That it's like you got them to change for the better. Because I thought they
Right.
would hate you or something. Because some people are disowned, and then fortunately, it went well in the end for you.
Yes. It took some work, especially with my father, who became increasingly religious and kind of tried to disown me. But
Yeah.
I love my dad, and we have a great history together. So we kept talking it out, and he's more accepting again, which is good. But not everyone's going to accept it. It's a controversial thing, and it's essentially
But it's
we
no
took
different than
a
other
term that
religions.
Satanism is a term that has long been associated with pure evil. But what Anton LaVey did was he took the ideas that were associated with Satanism, weeded out. He said, okay, what if it were from the actual satanic point of view? All of this is propaganda against heretics, freethinkers, pagans, and so here we have the idea of Satanism from a satanic point of view, which takes the positive aspects of what has historically been called Satanism, gets rid of the propaganda, and actually synthesizes that into a real working philosophy and religion that has changed many people's lives for the better.
Hmm. And no
But we
other.
understand that it comes from a background that it's kind of like I think of the term impressionism, which is a lot less controversial. But the impressionist painters who they were insulted at first with the term impressionism. It was considered an insult, but they took it. They said, it's pretty much accurate. Yes, we're just giving an impression of the landscape, but
And it's controversial when it comes to
there's more
religion.
to it. And then they embraced it as a positive term. That's what we've done with Satanism.
Yeah, and when it comes to religion, like it could be the Vatican. Galileo had issues, but back then there was one statue. It was like the statue was like of a man covered, like he was a monk and he was all covered. But then you have Michelangelo. If you were to do Michelangelo back then, you would be hanged. So maybe some things are getting better throughout the time.
Well, yeah, the Renaissance was all about this exploration of new ideas, testing new ideas, science, and beauty. It was very, very controversial, and it did begin pushing society into modernity. Of course, it goes against, say the medieval the medieval mindset, certainly, which was very oppressive and against all of that exploration. So
these people would have the nerve to go after you, but think of what the Vatican would have done. People who are Christian or Catholics would know very well that the Vatican itself is corrupt, and there's all kinds of pedophilia and all that other stuff in there that goes behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It could be Muslims where many other are affiliated to terrorism. What people think of Muslims as ISIS. People have that kind of mindset. Christians would think of themselves as one of those evangelical ones, or like ones worse than the Western Baptist Church, which are stupid idiots.
Yes.
But or Jews, when it comes to Jews run the world and all that. So we have all this kind of mindset. No religion is innocent.
No, the religions are, most of the religions out there they're against life. They're all about death and a supposed afterlife, and that's a problem. Then you have these terrorists blowing themselves up with the promise of a glorious afterlife, or it can be as simple as and apparently harmless as someone just denying the pleasures of life to just kind of live a bland existence until they die, because they think they're going to heaven when they've missed their chance to enjoy all the wonderful things life has to offer.
Yeah,
it's not always a violent thing. It can just be a wasting away.
Yeah, and some people never change when it comes to, the Earth rotates around the sun. Recently, Sheikh Bandar al-Kabairi, a Saudi cleric, he says that the Earth does not rotate.
Well, there goes your anti-science, which is a real shame, because Muslims. There was a time when Islam. If I could just say this, there was a time when Islam was at the forefront of a lot of scientific and mathematical ingenuity. We use Arabic numbers because they're more efficient than Roman numerals. There are a lot of scientific discovery came out of Islam, and so it's a real shame that Muslims now would be going against science.
Yeah, and unfortunately that is so. And here we have these people running the government. Imagine that's very scary when you're anti-science, and
terrifying.
And these people will actually go after you, and you cannot say anything bad about Islam. You cannot say anything that women have rights. You cannot say anything against the Saudi government because off of your head, that's the problem there. And so here, that's starting to happen. Political correctness.
Yes, it's all that oppression.
I'm atheist, but I would hate to see a Christian man like Ken Hovind be in jail because he was not convicted of a crime. He's in jail and nobody cares. He's a Christian. Doesn't matter. A man's in jail for a crime. There's no crime he committed. He was not convicted of any crime whatsoever, but here he's in jail. Christians are not allowed to have the Bible. They're not allowed to say God bless America. They're not allowed to say all kinds of stuff. Kids will have their Bibles taken away or suspended. In general, you have to protect someone's freedom of speech because freedom of expression.
Of course, yeah, it's terrible to lock people up for their beliefs. It's their actions that count. If they're going around committing crimes, yes, they have to be locked up, possibly even executed, but if they're just believing something different, they should be left to their own devices as long as they're not infringing on anyone else's freedoms.
But what are your outlooks on other religions? So it's besides the live and let live, and everybody should believe what they want. It's just that don't get involved into criminal activity.
Also, don't push your religion on anyone else. Keep it out of the government.
This is one thing. I'm sure it's appropriate to say. Religion is like a penis. If you're proud of it, I didn't make this up. This was some quote online. It was actually very interesting. If you have a penis, be proud of it. Okay, you're proud of it, fine, but don't shove it down people's throat and don't show it to children. That was one quote made online. That was one quote made online, and I'm like, that makes sense.
Thing.
But people still insist on doing that. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's again human nature. It's really unfortunate, but that's the way we are, and so we have to. That's why we have a social contract. That's why we have law enforcement, and hopefully, laws that help to promote freedom that doesn't, horn in on the freedoms of others. So that's the balance: is to have as much freedom as you deserve, which is as much freedom as doesn't. I'm sorry, I screwed that up a bit, but pretty much any freedom that doesn't limit another's freedom. That's it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, and people are not open, unfortunately, but I started being open back then. I would not like Satanism much back then when I was little and I was ignorant. My parents, how parents have a strong influence. But I'm not Satanist, but I love to do the devil side with my index finger and pinky, I'm not.
Well, do you listen to heavy metal? Is that it?
I'm not. I don't stick to one genre. I stick to many genres. However,
so do I.
But I don't stick. Since I don't stick to one, I love drawing. I love thinking of skulls. Or I don't know if you heard that game Clash of Clans, where you see in the ads of these skulls. I think more like these cute skulls. Where you get to draw them, but people tend to look at you as if you have 10 heads. That's the problem. But nothing against drawing, so it's art.
Yeah, that's aesthetics, which is another really important aspect of Satanism, is that you create an image and just a visual style and an artistic style that represents you, who you are, and enjoy it as much as you can. It stimulates your mind and it brings you joy. That's part of what we strongly support.
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard of it, Insane Clown Posse. I was looking at online yesterday, and Insane Clown Posse was interviewed by Riley in the Riley Factor show he used to have, and so then he was like, he looked at them as if, it's not like he would disrespect them, but he was like, as if there's like, I don't think he treated them that's equal as I thought of. But he says, "Oh, why are you condoning such crimes? It's just and they're like, "Oh, we're just joking around. We're messing with the kids." But he's acting like those regular fundamentalist Christians, where they look at you weird, and since most of the population's like that, you don't want to be ostracized, so you have to just take it. And this is this footage from that too.
I don't give a damn about the world, but when it comes to it, we throw good things in there. We're not totally evil guys.
This old footage.
I care very much about the audience.
All right. You said yesterday.
So Bill acts as he. I don't know. I thought he would act as he's better than they are. They're humans just like you and me.
And the kid said 12.
He had Marilyn Manson. I'm sure you.
Marilyn Manson, yeah.
I'm sure you had you're a fan of Manson. Are you?
Well, I don't know why you'd assume that, but I do happen to really enjoy.
No, because I always thought as Manson, not to insult you or anything, but I always thought of Manson as Satanist in a way. But I don't dislike him. I kind of like. I think he's kind of cool. It's just that I never.
Well, there are a lot of Satanists who don't like Marilyn Manson, and that's because of a lot of his lifestyle. That he has spoken about in the past. With drugs and things like that. But early on in his career, he was given an honorary priesthood by Anton LaVey because he did have aspects of his stage show and his lyrics that did represent satanic concepts pretty well. So LaVey supported that, but he's not widely liked. I wouldn't say in the Church of Satan. It's just some of us like him, some of us don't. I have friends in the Church of Satan who have Marilyn Manson tattoos. I grew up listening to his stuff, and I still like his music.
Yeah, and as far as Marilyn Manson, he tends to be like a, I don't know, he was like acting like a knucklehead, because he was saying one quote, was it something very perverted, it has to do with children and taste or something, like, and I'm like, he's making saying this look bad. He's acting like very strange and perverted, and so in a way he was, but like all of us, we tend to be knuckleheads, you know. I think it was taste like children, and even Alex Jones would mention that on the show. It smells like children.
So, but yeah, but that was I think that was a reference to a character from, I forget which show, but he was referencing I think a child killing or child stealing character from some TV show. It was he would never support any kind of pedophilia or child murder. He's against all that, as far as I know.
And this is him on the O'Reilly Factor.
In some say disturbing force in the pop world.
And I'm a black rainbow, and I'm an ape of God. I got a face that's made for violence. And take everyone's ideals, common morals, flip them around, make people look at them differently, question them, so that you're not always taking things for granted.
You know, they're not bad people. Insane Clown Posse or Marilyn Manson, they're just like you and me. But these people want free will, but we have other people that act as the regular religious people that are intolerable. And so then they act as if they're better than us, or trying to put us down, dumb us down, make us feel small. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, that's, again, human nature. That's we're
yeah, but
a lot of Satanists are
misanthropists. We're not born like that, though. We're raised like that. That's the thing. You're not born necessarily. Well, you have some smarts inside you, but you're not born with hatred. You're not born with love. You're a baby. You're like completely neutral. But it's just how you grow up. If you're gonna grow up with effed up parents, you're gonna be effed up, and you're gonna be you know what, to people. You know, if you grow up with tolerable parents, with loving parents, and then you're gonna be a very respected person.
That doesn't always happen, though. You know, it's nature versus nurture. There are people who have really screwed up parents that grow up to be great adults, and vice versa. But it has to do with your individual will and your personal sense of responsibility. Some of it is genetic, some of it is not, but it's complex. There's no simple way of clearing it up, and again, I think human nature does tend to have these violent aspects, these oppressive aspects that just get out of balance. And so, I mean, there are elements of that violent nature that can be used beneficially. I mean, that's how we evolved, through struggle, through conflict. Without struggle and conflict, the species would probably devolve and perish, but we have to learn how to use them responsibly. And that's what it comes down to: responsibility and evolution. That's it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So hopefully society will change. So what would you any advice you would tell people how to be tolerant, etc.? I guess you just hear them out and discuss with them, just like me and you had a discussion. We didn't act like effed up people to each other. I heard, I let you. I hear views from you. You hear views from me, and there's a bunch of things we can actually agree on. Just like Daryl Davis with the KKK, there's a bunch of stuff they can agree on. The KKK may make things racial. They'll make things racial no matter what. But you have to admit that they know about what's going on with politics. They have to know that we're becoming a police state. They're aware of that. They don't want the white race to die, according to them. I don't want anybody to die, no matter what race you look, no matter what you look like. So that's one thing they can agree on. They both know what's going on. And then people look at them and they ignore them. And then they wonder, oh, how come things are going bad? Somebody's trying to work together here, but you're just ignoring them. So what advice would you give to any people, in particular Christians? Christians have a very big issue when it comes to Satanism. So what would you give advice, especially to them?
Well, I just assure all Christians that we're not out to convert anyone. We we practice our religion independently, and we don't want to change your views. We just want to make sure that we are free to do whatever non-criminal things we want to do, and it's not when we're against control.
Yeah, and if only you guys had like an actual building, like a church, church to have a black mass. I would like to see that, because how come everybody could have a building but not you guys? And it's tax exempt too. You don't have to pay taxes if you have a church. But I would like to see it for myself, because I'm an open-minded person.
We do pay taxes. Yes. We do. The Church of Satan pays taxes. We believe in the taxation of all churches, because it's. There are a number of reasons for that, and I won't get into them at the moment. But basically, for one thing, we don't want a building. Okay, we would find that counterproductive. It would encourage too much milling around, too much of an idea of a community as opposed to being individualists that we are. Or tenets, but
yeah, because you shouldn't be embarrassed if you are a Satanist. You should be embarrassed, but you would think that if there was a building, then people are going to take it the wrong way, or people are going to think of it as like Christians or Muslims or Jews. So it's going to be like the regular same old story. So that could be a reason I would assume.
Yeah, we're not the same old story. You want to prevent that. The idea is very, very much the opposite. Their ideas are to gather as a community and to try to apply them in similar ways. We take these core and apply them in very, very different ways. We have different aesthetic sensibilities. We have different politics. All kinds of. We are not going to agree on everything. So it's pointless to have a building to try to put together.
So you say it's pointless. And I would assume everybody, including Peter Gilmore, would agree the same thing too.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. We
you wouldn't want a building yourself, and Peter is probably strict on that. Michael.
Yes. Okay. I hear you again.
Sorry, the call dropped again. So I would assume Peter Gilmore is very strict on that, and unfortunately, while this tolerance remains, then we are not going to come as one as a human species. By the way, before you go, what would you like to say to all the listeners out there? Because it's very rare for to even have a open-minded discussion like this, and you definitely won't see it in any mainstream news. It's very rare, actually. So what would you like to say to all the other listeners out there?
I don't know. It's depends on what they want to know. It's, again, we're not out to convert anyone, so I don't know whether there's any particular message that I'd have for everyone. Just tolerance. I would say enjoy your life, and enjoy your life to the fullest, and enjoy all the wondrous things this life has to offer.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And so you said the Church of Satan normally doesn't have any buildings, and as far as these black masses, they're not affiliated with the Church of Satan. Is there a way people can actually check it out? Because I'm sure there are a few people that would want to check this out in person. It's not that they have to like it, but at least they're open to, hearing you out. So it's very hard to find any of these, any such masses.
Okay, you dropped out for a moment, so I didn't hear everything you said.
Is there a way people can check out a Satanist mass or black mass, even though it's not?
Sure.
But like it's because which places would you be able to find? Because some people out there who are listening might want to check it out. It's not that they'll like it, but at least they'll check it out and learn something from it rather than just having misconceptions from people who actually barely have any tolerance and they're hypocrites themselves. They can't look themselves in the mirror.
Right. Well, you can go to churchofsatan.com. There's footage.
Church of Satan. So there's videos. Hello. I don't know why this keeps happening. It must be the NSA spying on everyone.
Maybe it's Jesus.
And Satan used to be with Jesus, but he was thrown out because maybe he wasn't loyal. He didn't want to be with him. So you were saying go to churchofsatan.com. So
yeah, churchofsatan.com has links to footage of ceremonies and interviews, rituals, all that stuff you can find. There is footage that it's not often that it happens, but sometimes those things do get recorded.
So is there any places people can go in particular, like if there's any, because I would like to check it out too in the future. So where would I be able to go? Could I go someplace in New York or?
No, there's nothing. You're not going to find any public rituals. It's just you go, you find the footage where you can find it, on DVD, on YouTube, whatever. But not every Satanist even does rituals. We perform them if we feel the need, but that's not so it's we don't. It's.
Oh, could this be one?
I can't stress that enough.
Oh, so could this be 16606, the Satanic High Mass? That's one video I found on the site.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Ah.
So that's something that people can see.
When you think of it, it's the same concept as going to mass.
There's also a CD.
And it looks pretty cool. I don't want to be sacrilegious or offend anybody, but I think it looks cool. The decorations, everything. It's like Halloween. And who doesn't love Halloween?
Yeah. Oh, we love Halloween. And hey, you know what? We admit that religion is show business, and we're probably the only religion that does. It is show business.
Oh. So you guys are like big on Halloween, I would assume.
A lot of us are, yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's the most fun holiday. Of course, the most important holiday for a Satanist is his or her own birthday, because that's the day that you were born. You're the most important person in your world, so you should celebrate yourself.
Mm. Wow, and it's living like the facts. It sounds nice.
It's very impressive, yes.
Long live the great Satan!
Hey, and people are gonna be like, "Yo, Chris, man, really?" And I'm like, "It's my show, okay?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I'm one of the only few open-minded guys you're gonna find. I don't care if I was Christian, I'll still want to talk to you. You're an awesome guy. Hopefully, I want to have you on again. I would try to have a group Skype with Rabbi Weiss and possibly an Islamic preacher, possibly. I want to have all of us, and this is very rare. I don't know if it's ever been done. A bunch of different religious leaders talk with one another. We're talking like human beings, and people, including the left, are gonna be find a way to put us into category. But we all have blood. We all have a skeleton. We all have the same. We're just human. So maybe I'll be back in the fall somewhere. So I want to have you on again.
Well, I appreciate that, and you can just reach out when the time comes, and we'll see about it.
All right. Thank you for being on the show, Mandrake.
Okay, thank you, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
Same.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye. And so, see, I'm a very open-minded person, and here's I won't show it for too long because of you don't want to spend too much time on this. It's just a little snip of it.
Out on the hot winds of hell, who dwelleth in the devil's fane. Move, appear, present.
What? That reminds me of what's that song? Secrets from Mary Lambert. And it's a cool song. But what? So hopefully one day humanity will change for the better. It's unacceptable, and we're human. We're not perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. So stop acting like you're better than anybody else, man. Come on. It's ridiculous.